Hello my fellow admins and welcome back to another episode of ScriptRunner Guides. Void.admin here, and today we learn new things about ScriptRunner for JIRA as the second part in the beginner's guide. So let's get into the video. Before going right into this video, you need to know some basic elements of ScriptRunner. For example, how to install it, what are the key components of it, etc. This information is found in my first video. So if you didn't have the chance to see it, check the description of this video and watch that video before this one because it's really helpful for you. So for today's video, I have prepared for you two different requirements on which we will build together two different scripts, one as a condition and one as a post function. This will not be like super hard to understand scripts. These are like basic scripts and I want to go through each line and why I'm using that and how I'm using specific definition or variables, right? So usually when I try to create a new script, I'm using script console feature every time because this will allow you not to lose a lot of time. This is easier for you to log everything that you have in the script. I know if you want to fetch some custom field value from a ticket, from an issue, you can do this just by simply click run, and you don't need to add that script as a post function from the beginning, just triggering that post function, seeing everything in the logs. That's a waste of time and it's not really beneficial for you as a beginner if you want to do this from the start in order for you to learn every curve aspect from your script that you build, right? So I've usually starting with script console, and for you to understand, in script console issue, it's not defined, right? So we are getting this issue from the issues class as happy, and we get them by key, and I'm using the issue key Scrum 36. So this is this story that I've created specifically for this video. If you're creating this script directly in as a post function or as a condition, you already have this issue built up, right? So usually I have this analogy between console and the workflow. So this script console is like a desk, right? And you don't have anything on that desk in the console, but on the workflow you have a mousepad, right? So in the workflow, if I'll try to go first with the condition, right? So for the condition, you need to add a condition for that particular transition, and we'll be using this custom script condition, right? So in this custom script condition, you have the inline script where you add your script that will be triggered on that workflow, right? So this inline script is different than this one from the script console because here issue, you see it's already there, like it's already defined in this console, but on in this inline script, but in the console you don't have it defined. You need to define it, right? So I have this analogy where the workflow is a desk and issue is a mousepad, right? There's this mousepad, and on the console you don't have this mousepad, so you need to build it. So you are using this variable issue that you defined already. So you're defining the mousepad and you're getting the exact mousepad that you already have on this workflow, right? Maybe this is easier for you to understand. But I like to use script console because it's not a waste of time and I can easily log everything up, right? So today I will be starting with the condition. So I've built this narrative of the condition where the requirement, where only the assignee should be able to trigger a specific transition, right? So we have this transition in this workflow create subtask. So this will create a subtask based on all information that we have on the story. So basically it will copy the story, all the information from the story in the subtask, and will create it automatically without you having to input any data into it, right? So this create subtask transition should be shown only for assignee and not everyone else that should be able to trigger this transition, right? So you usually have like a built-in condition where you can add this, but I wanted to add a script just for you to understand how we are building this script in the script console, right? So I just took this as an example where we have this condition, right? So for example, we have the issue defined here, and what we need to do is to, first of all, we said that we want only the assignee to be able to click this create subtask, right? So first of all, we need to get the value for the assignee. So now to get the value for the assignee, we also need to define this value, right? So we can use this variable in like for conditions or to like see exactly what is the difference between the assignee and the other field, right? So right now I'm just define the assignee. So in order to define the assignee, you need to go into the issue itself, and the issue itself for this particular case in the script console is this Scrum36. So we get this issue, and now we basically get assignee, right? We have this already here in this list, and we just simply choose issue.getAssignee. With this, we basically get the value of the assignee. But now we know that we can get this value, but we don't know exactly in what format and what is the exact value of this assignee. Because on the ticket itself, we see the assignee as void.admin, but we need to see what is, if this is an object and what kind of properties or class it has, right? So in order to see it, we just now can return it as return assignee, because this is the variable that we defined above. And this is the power of the script console. You don't need to trigger this condition in the ticket, update the condition each time. You just basically simply run it, right? So now I've run it. And now we can see that the value of the assignee is this object, void.admin and the JIRA user, right? So this is an actual object, because prior to this, we can also go further beyond get assignee and also get, for example, the name, or get the username, or we also get the email address, right? So this particular object is the value that we are fetching from the issue Scrum36, right? So now that we actually know exactly what is the value, we don't need the name, right? We need the value of it, and that's it, right? Now we need to compare this, right? So in our requirement was the assignee should only the assignee should be the only one that can see this create subtask transition, right? But we need to remember that we need to go into the narrative where we need to check the login user, right? Because this is how you will be able to have the script working properly for other users, right? Because let's say that other users are checking this ticket, and if they are not the assignee, they should not able to create subtask, right? So how you identify the other users where they are using different computer, they are using the same JIRA, right, as you, but they're using different computer and different account, right? We are doing this by fetching the data of the logged in user, right? Because we need to identify which one is the login user in order to compare it with the assignee, right? So if the login user is the assignee, then he will be able to trigger this transition. If the user is not the assignee, then the transition will be hidden. So basically this is the narrative. So now we need to define the login user, right? Now is the, it's not like difficult, but I need to explain better this narrative, because the logged in user is not simply getting from the login user from the ticket itself, because this ticket has the information of this assignee, right? But this UI, this ticket UI doesn't have the information of the login user, right? So to get the login user, we need to access the API from Atlassian, and we need to use a class from this API, which is called the component actors class, right? So we will fetch this information from that class in order to find out who is the login user, because this is not, the login user is not found in this ticket, right? Is whoever is logged in that particular session when the user is accessing this ticket, right? So that how it's called, that login user, it's found here, right? It's a class, right? Because scripts cannot function without these classes, because these are like classes from Atlassian, which Atlassian allows you to read into these data, right? So we can read into who is the basically what is the value of the login user by accessing this class, right? So these classes are basically so I've like built something here for you to understand. So for example, we are doing the import, right? So the import is the action of this particular class, right? And these classes are like folders in your Microsoft computer, right? Com, it's a folder, right? We use this dot Atlassian in order to go into further, like into depth of com, right? So we accessed the com folder, we enter into Atlassian, then after that we accessed JIRA, which is a folder in Atlassian, then we fetch the component from that. So basically this is like a hierarchy of folders. Right at the bottom where is this component accessors, right? So we need to fetch this component accessors in order for us to fetch this information from Atlassian, right? Because this is a class provided by Atlassian, and we use that to fetch the login user, right? So we'll need that. So we need actually to define this login user. So as I said in the part 1, to define a variable, this can be anything that you want, right? So I can define this login user as haha, right? I'm laughing, and equals here we have the component accessors, because this is like the folder that where we want to get in order to find this login user. And this login user is found in this JIRA authentication context, which is, right, another folder in the component accessors, right? So here we just add another dot, and with this dot we identify the login user. But now you see, like, it doesn't matter what is the name of this, right? Because you simply give whatever name you want. But as I said in the part 1, I like to give here like not like explanation for like for other people that are reading my code to know exactly what I did, right? So if I'm getting the login user here, I will define it as a login user, right? If I'm getting the assignee, I will add the definition as the assignee, right? So because this is like easier for someone else to read your code, right? As I said, like I don't like to use the those definitions of the variable like X, A, C, B. Like no one knows how to read into those. Like those are bad codes written, and no one cares about those, right? For someone to understand your code, you need to specifically set what you have fetched, like what kind of information. If you're using a custom field which is called test123, try to define it at test123, right? Because maybe you have another custom field which is test12, right? And people like need to basically read it like easier, right? So now we got the logged in user. So I hope you understand this thing with the classes. So classes are basically already defined things, like information, like it basically is an API, and it's provided by Atlassian. Without this, you cannot read into the login user because you cannot access this, right? Because this is a you can find this login user in this particular component accessor, which is like a folder for you to understand, and this extends from this part of this class. So now, as we have the login user, we need to do the same thing that we did for the assignee in order to check to see if it's the same format. If it's yes, then it's fine. If not, we need to transform it, right? So now we just return the login user so we can actually see if it's the same. So we have run it and we can see that is the same. Now, for you to be like 100% if it's the same, if you did as I did, return it 2 times, and if it's the same value, right? I will just use the log right now, right? So you also have the option where you can use this log.warn, and you are getting the value of login user like this. So you just put a $sign and then the variable that you define it above. So now if I run it, in the result I have nothing because I didn't return anything. I just logged it. So now in the logs I have as a warning from script bindings manager, we have the value. So we see that the value has the same format as the assignee, which this is perfect for us. Because what we need to do now is to compare these values in a condition and just return it false or true, right? So you can see at the moment how easier is to use script console in order to write your script and to identify exactly what are you fetching and what kind of information you are fetching. If you did this directly in the condition in this script, in this inline script, it will be super hard for you to log everything and then go, I don't know, maybe you have access into the server and you can check the logs on the server. If you don't have, maybe you have last log, you need to use last log, right? It's like trickier to get each information that you need as a log, right? When here in the script console, you just run it and that's it, you have it, voila. And now the only thing that remains here is to have the condition, as I said, and we just add the condition here as an if, and now we just need to compare it. So we have assignee is different. This is how you are saying different than the login user. Then do something, right? So we will return here as let's say false. I'll show you why I put here false. So false means hide the transition. And now if the assignee is different than the login user, then we hide the transition. Else, which is the opposite, will be true, right? So if the assignee will be equals to login user, then it will be true, right? So in order to differentiate between two variables, if you don't want one variable to be equal with another, you just put exclamation mark and equals. If we want assignee to be equal with login user, we need to put two equals. This means equals, right? Two equals. But we need here, in this particular example, the assignee, if the assignee is different than the login user, then we return false because this will hide the transition, and true, show the transition. Right, so now if I run it again, in the logs we don't have anything because we didn't log anything. In the results we have true, right? It's true because the assignee is the same as the login user, which is me, right? I'm the login user and also I'm the assignee. This is the exact narrative where we started, and this is where we wanted to land. Because now we have the exact script that we need for our condition, and we know 100% that this is executing correctly and we don't have any errors, right? Because now I can get this script, I just copy paste it, and now I paste it into this inline script. And for you to understand now again the reference of the mousepad, we see that we have type check warnings detected in the script. If we mouse over to issue, now this inline script sees the issue as I don't know, like, man, we already have a mousepad, why you added another mousepad on the desk, right? Because issue is already defined in this inline script by itself. So you don't need to define the issue, because issue itself will be the issue where we are triggering this script, right? So if I'm here in this Scrum 36 and I'm trying to see if I have access to that, right, to the script subtask, this is where the script will be triggered. If someone else triggers the same script, it's not the same script, it's on the same project, but it's in another issue type, let's say Scrum 50, and on that Scrum 50, this script will run because it's issue dot, and issue will be getting this ticket where the user is located from, right? Located in, right? So we actually don't need this line too, but now we have issue get assignee, we have the login user, and now one more thing that we need to change. You see I added here false and here true, but if we go below this inline script, we see here set the variable passes condition to false to prevent the transition from being shown, right? So if you don't set this variable passes condition to false, right? In this, you cannot hide or show the transition. So this is like a mandatory thing to be added in your script, right? Because at the end of any condition script, you need to have to set the variable pass condition to false in order to hide it, or to true to show it, right? So now we need to get this passes condition, and we need to return it. We need to set this variable to false, right? So we have this variable, and we just said this variable is equals to false, and now we have the same variable which we need to set it as true, because this will show the transition, which is the opposite of false, right? So basically this is how you are like transitioning from the script console, which is the same script because it's the same, we just switch to things that doesn't even care. Like you don't even care about this because you already know that both of these values have the same format, and this is what we are interested in, to have the same format, not to have the email or the username or whatever, right? So now we are updating it and we publish this thing. And now you will see that, for example, for this, I am the assignee. So surely I will see the create subtask, right? But now if I'm changing the assignee, I have here a user, test user, and now I change the assignee to a different user, which is not the same as the login user because I'm login. And now I'm going to the drop down, you see, I don't see any create subtask transition because the script triggered, and now I cannot see it. So I can show you also that the script successfully triggered without any errors, right? So you see no failures in the last execution, because in the first execution, we were the assignee and the login user, but in the second one, we didn't were, but the script was successfully triggered, right? So basically you have this thing on your workflow as a logged in execution to see the timing, you see the payload, to see the logs, right? But if you have green here, it means that the script functioned correctly, right? So this is how you add a condition in a workflow in JIRA using ScriptRunner, using a simple script. I hope I explain it better with this analogy that I had with the mousepad. I hope you understand it, but this is crucial for you as a beginner when you start writing your own scripts. I hope this was helpful, because I have also a second example here, and we'll be using the post function example in this case. And this is like much more easier. I think I've taught myself that we have a requirement where when someone is like, let me change this assign to me. When someone is creating a subtask, to also add a comment in the history, in the story, where story has been created by, and I don't know, maybe we add the date or something, right? So let's get back into it. And what we have learned today is that when we are creating a script, we are going right into the script console, right? So we know that for a post function, we need to go into post functions, right? And we just add a post function. And for this, again, example, because I usually like to create custom scripts, not anything built in. We are using a custom script, but now before going into the exact script, we need to go in the script console and just build that for ourselves to see exactly that this is working, right? Before updating that as a post function. So I said to you that this requirement is to add a comment when someone is pressing this transition, create subtask. So this will create a subtask, but we also add a comment afterwards. So for this is simple, right? Like it's much easier to understand rather than this, because we don't have a condition. We are just adding a comment, doesn't matter what, because that comment will be added each time when user clicks create subtask. So we are starting from the same, from the same issue, right? Because we don't have issue in the script console, so we need to have the mousepad, right? So we don't need the assignee. I think I'll leave the logged in user because we can add already this as a variable in the comment, right? So what we have said that we want to add a comment with the variable login user, let's say, right? So for adding a comment, this is simple. We just add issue and dot add comment. This is the simplest thing. And now you can see that we also have here a help thing, string comment, because the comment is identified as a string. So the string is identified as these two quotes. So now we have an empty string. So we don't add anything to the comment, right? But we need to add a string here. So for adding a string, you just type something from the keyboard. If I'm adding this and now I'm just running it, it will add the comment in this issue, right? So let's test that, right? So I click run, and now if I'm refreshing this, you see we have this string of of weird letters here as a comment, because this line adds a comment in the ticket, right? And this ticket, we have it defined here. If you have it on the workflow, you have issue.add comment. So each time a user will be on that particular issue, it will add a comment if they trigger this, where this post function is found in which transition, right? But we want to create something which is like more nicer, right? So subtask, let's say, subtask has been created, let's say by, and now we add this login user, right? So we are doing something simpler here by login user, because this is how. So if you have a, so in the string, I want to mention this because I forgot to mention this string. You see it's identified as a, it's in two quotes, and it has this yellowish color, right? But this is like bluish. This means that you have identified a variable that you already defined in your script, right? If I'm adding here, I don't know, logged, you see, now we have a type checking error detected in the script, and we see static type checking. The variable logged is undeclared because we didn't declare this variable. We have a variable declared as issue, and we have a variable declared as logged in user. So we need to use a variable that we have defined in the same script. And in order to call that variable, you see if I'm adding this logged in user, this is not identified as a variable because it doesn't have this $sign at the beginning. So adding $sign, and after that the variable, you can identify you can add that variable into that string that you have, right? Because in the string you cannot identify it. There's also like this method where you can put this in the curly brackets, and this will also work. But yeah, it's simpler like this way, right? So now if I'm triggering this and I'm just running it, you'll see here that subtask has been created by, and this is the format that we have identified that the login user has when we did the condition script, right? So right now, let's see that we don't want this object, right? JIRA user, and we want the name. You also have the possibility to add a dot here and just get the name of the login user. And now if I'm running it again, and I'm refreshing, you see subtask has been created by void.admin, which is the name of the login user. It's not that object, that weird object, right? So you can add like whatever you want here. Like you can even add the date. Let's say that we want subtask has been created by at, or like on like this date, on this specific date, right? But for that we also need like a class, right? So let's say so for date I think this is import. I might be wrong, but so for example, you have classes from Atlassian, but we also have classes from Java, let's say, right? Because for example, this comes from, I think it was like this date. Yeah, I got it. You see? So this is the class date from Java, right? So it's not mandatory only to like add Atlassian classes, right? Because you also have Java classes for dates, for, I don't know, if you want to specifically date on a time zone, you also have like a class for that. So let's say that we want date, so you'll use this import, And this import, as I said and I explained before, you have now this as Java, right? Because this is like the main folder in the class, and then you have util, right? And here you're accessing another folder which is in util called date, right? So we need this folder, right, from here in order to get this and to create this new date, right? So as I said, you can add everything that you wanted here. I said that maybe we can add date. I guess this is like a good example, right? And now as we have the date, we need to create this new date. And so let's say that we want exactly specifically to take the date when we triggered this. So today's date is 26/02/2024, and we need to define the variable, right? So let's say today date equals, we need to create a new date, right? Because it's a new date. And now after you typed new date, you also need to add the format of this date, right? Because each date has a format. You know that format, like in I think America has the format of month first, day second, and then the year, if I'm not mistaken. But in Europe, I'm from Europe, we have the day first, the month second, and after the year, right? So this is what I will add here. So you have this thing formats, right? So if you had new date, you just one second, mess up with my thing here. I'll just type it format. It should give me, like, I don't know why it didn't give it. Something is busted here. Oh, this is, you see, I forgot this. Like, I didn't know why I added it, right? So you see new date. I know that something was wrong. You see, when I added a dot, I also have this this list here. So I'm looking for format because I need to format the date, and I'm looking format as so I said that day is the first, then it's month, then it's year, right? So month, it's always with capital, dd with small d, and it's not with capital, and also y for y is because you have the year 2024, which was like 4 years, right? You understand it, right? So we have a new date, right? Today's date as a new date, which is the same, this format, and we just typed as string, so we get identified as string here. So now if I'm trying to let's comment this, right? Because we also don't want to add a comment without knowing what is this returning, right? So I want to return this today's date to see exactly what we get. So if I run it, you see 26/02/2024. If I'm changing here as a month first, and after that day, this is like the American format, and I run it, you see I have 02, which is February, 26 is the day, and 2024 is the year, right? So let's say that I'll leave it like this for the American viewers, right, to be happy. And now as we know which is the format, right, of the date, and we know that we are fetching the correct date, we just uncomment this, and we can use exactly this in the comment that we have. So subtask has been created by, it will fetch the login user on, and we specify the date as I told you, today's date, like this. We add the $, and then we add the variable, and that's pretty much it. And I'm just running this. So now after I run it, you see the last comment was 5 minutes ago. I refresh it, it's just now, and it says subtask has been created by the name of the login user on February 26, 2024, the American format. So now, oh, by the way, I forgot. So we have built this, for example, in the script console, and we know that it's perfectly working because we have tested it, right? So it doesn't matter, like we clicked run, it will add a comment. Then we know that we can perfectly take Control-C, Control-V in the script post function that we have created, and now we expand it, and we again see it that it says that they have this inline script already has defined as issue, right? because it has already a mousepad. You don't need another mousepad on the desk. So we just remove this. It doesn't matter if it's there. We don't need it. We need these import classes because these are important. And we have the rest of the things here. We just simply add this, and I will just add as position after the subtask has been created. I don't know, maybe we'll do something interesting in the next video of like fetching something from the subtask that has been created, right? So I don't know. So let me publish this, and if we go back, see, I've refreshed it, but I didn't click run there, right? So it doesn't matter. So now I need to exactly trigger that post function, and in order to trigger that post function, I need to trigger the transition. So the transition creates subtask, and now I'm just creating a subtask. You see, subtask has been created here, and we also have just now this comment subtask has been created by, and it will added the the comment, sorry. And that's pretty much it. So I just want to incentivize that beginners should, and not only beginners, like all, like even advanced users. I'm pretty sure almost all the advanced users are using this technique of using the script console in order to write the scripts. And after you finish that, everything like you finished, you've tested everything, you can move into the workflow and test the workflow to see if it will trigger the post function. If not, you can go do and like troubleshoot more these things, right? Maybe you miss some conditions or something like that, right? But this is like the way of working for you guys to understand that it's easier for you to catch up like this kind of informations using script console, because it's easier for you to log everything that you're writing. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope it wasn't so long today. I hope you learned something today, and if you like the video, just like it. Subscribe will definitely help me, and don't forget that I have a GitHub repository where you can find a bunch of script templates, and also we have a Discord channel with, I think at this moment we have over 18 people, and if the YouTube comment session is it's not enough for you to ask questions, and you want to interact with me or with other people from the community, you just can join our Discord and we can talk in our small community. And that's pretty much it. Thanks a lot for watching this video today. I hope you like it, and until the next one,